and welcome to the launch of the AI-Ops Special Interest Group. My name is Pradeep Kumar, and I serve on the Board of Trustees for the Portland chapter of the Society for Information Management. The purpose of this group is to explore the latest development in artificial intelligence for IT operations, also known as AI-Ops. AI-Ops is a fast-growing area that utilizes big data, machine learning, and other advanced analytics to enhance functions in IT operations with proactive, personal, and dynamic insights. Our speaker today, Ahmer Inam, is a Chief Data and AI Officer at Relanto, a leading firm in business transformation and enterprise resilience. With over 20 years of expertise, he has a pivotal role in driving organizational change using intelligent digital solutions. And without further ado, please welcome Ahmer Inam.
Thank you, Pradeep, and thank you for inviting me and kicking off the AI-Ops Special Interest Group. I would start with what is driving the imperative for AI-Ops and what are the fundamentals and building blocks of AI-Ops, why it's important, and the types of outcomes we should expect to see out of it. And essentially kind of demystifying the whole domain of AI-Ops as it's evolving and emerging. And it will allow us to essentially ground ourselves in what it is and what it isn't, so that as we go deeper in our subsequent conversations and in potentially tactical steps, it will ensure that it comes with the right context and in the right framing. With that, quickly delve into the agenda for this dialogue. Leading indicators to move towards AI-Ops, introduction of what it is, overview of the architecture and the components of it. How should our AI applications feel like? Just a high-level perspective on that, and then the impact that AI-Ops platforms can drive. So starting with the leading indicators. So give you a case study here. So let's say you are an engineer in a network operations center, and this is the warning that's flashing on your screen. The question is, what action would you take with it? And the answer to that is essentially, it is very hard to figure out what's really this alert is telling us. And this is the exact alert that was popping up on the screen for the operations folks when the Notre Dame was on fire. And what happened in this case is that the sensors that were collecting environmental information were working. So engineering part of it didn't fail, but what it failed in this case is that this alert was so cryptic and it was hard to understand. Forced the people who looked at this alert to make a decision on themselves what it's trying to say, and then they went to the wrong part of the building and spent about an hour and a half doing root causing for why, and then they came back with an analysis saying that the sensors were misfiring potentially. By the time they came to that assessment that sensors were misfiring, the main part of the cathedral was already on fire. Right. So this is essentially a typical scenario in a lot of the network operating center that we face today, where our alerts and the logs and stuff are not really telling it the right context. And essentially, any network operating room that we look at, essentially it's almost like a fire management day in and day out. So it's a failure of not so much engineering, but it's a failure of the operations and frankly speaking, the experience design itself. So what we're facing right now from an imperative perspective is the digital transformation is rapidly and exponentially growing right across the companies. We see that essentially the transformation that is happening, and then the number of different, SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS solutions that CIOs and the CTOs are having to integrate to transform the businesses, it creating more and more essentially unknown gaps on the back end. And then those unknown kind of landmines are leading to more and more unknown and unseen problems. And then those unknown and unseen problems are essentially creating a huge burden in network operations and the SREs, essentially, the entire ecosystem. So it's forcing us to essentially operate our IT operations more in a very firefighting and reactive way versus proactive way. In addition to the digital transformation to make it work, as I mentioned, there has been a massive shift, and rightfully so, from monolithic architecture to SAOs to microservices and so on and so forth. And more languages, methodologies, architectures, and environments are coming into it. So the ecosystem has become so complicated that managing and maintaining that proactively has become nearly an impossible task. And of course, a lot of companies have invested in technologies for observability, but observability only tells you what has failed, right? It's not telling you what's likely to happen and why and when and where, so that we can proactively fix it. Continuing on the troubling trends, and from a CIO magazine's surveys, 70% of the incidents are detected by the customers. So what this is leading to is that the proliferation of these technologies is causing these unknown dark holes essentially to be observed by the customer. So a customer abrasion is the first entry point for technology organizations to know something is not working, which is not good to begin with, right? 66% respondent CIOs said that they have existing monitoring solutions, but they identify less than half of all of the performance issues and outages. So even though they have implemented very expensive, and I'm not going to name those companies in this call, but you can imagine what they are, and they are extremely, extremely expensive. And essentially, you sit there and watch your word fall, and only half the time. And 60% responded saying that with the growing IT complexity, is leading to more and more outages, right? Which in the end are customer facing. So the scale is increasing of the technology ecosystem, but the visibility is declining. And that creates a very challenging problem. And when we continue on that path, like the traditional IT operations already has a lot of issues. So we are overwhelmed by data and the lack of information. And I wanted to articulate that nuance between data versus information. We have siloed teams and tools, too many alerts that all of these observability platforms are pushing out. There is no sense of prioritization or a scale of it. You may have a server that is about to face a starvation problem that might shut down certain features of a key application, and then that alert is sitting right next to a server that's going to have a security certification expiring in 6 months or 3 months from now, like stuff like that, right? And that's a very common problem. There's no context when an incident occurs. So even RCA, root cause analysis, building that can take a long time. In cases of cybersecurity, it can take up to 9 months to create a comprehensive RCA. There are no early warnings, and then the DevOps essentially lacks any kind of proactive assurance. So and then it's backed by data, right? So 80% of organizations, a lot of silos, 95% of the alerts lack any kind of an information value, which as an example I shared from the Notre Dame example. And then we see that in IT operations daily. Or about 45% incidents involve all hands war room. Like how many war rooms are forming nearly on a daily basis? And I have supported IT operations for some of the world's largest companies. Nearly every day, there are multiple war rooms, all hands war rooms forming. And then they're relying on people's experiences and the know-how to figure out what happened, why did it happen. But still, it's focused on root causing, right? And again, as I said, most of the incidents are getting raised by end users, which is a bad spot to be in. So IT ops priorities that are driven by digital transformation are to increase frequency of change, stability, and availability of IT services. So this is the number one charter, but we are unable to do that. But the ecosystem that we're operating with, especially with the observability tools that are available to us, it's not allowing us to do that, reducing the resource operations workload and increase productivity. But when we are pushed to increase productivity, that creates more breakage, and that creates problems. Consolidation of the tools, but how are we going to consolidate tools? And again, EIPaaS and those types of frameworks are evolving, but there can be exponential impact of multiple hidden landmines across all your ecosystem converging to create deeper and deeper, bigger problems, right? Migrations to the cloud, supporting software-defined services, and in supporting microservices-based architecture. So all of these are imperative for digital transformation, and all of these are coming with these hidden landmines for problems and challenges. And we see this, and these are real quotes from one of the entities that we implemented and supported with the AIOps. So senior devs receiving so many alerts, I have to go through them one by one. This is taking away time to do feature work. So it's taking the time away from doing development to continuously maintaining the alerts, right? Too many tools to monitor the space, and they all look different. All of them set up to fire if the system hits a threshold, which is often too late. AI is being positioned AI, but it is completely manual. A lot of rules-based systems are getting positioned as AI and an AI ops, and it's creating even more confusion in the ecosystem. And this is like a real case. For 7 incident, I only have 72 hours to build the RCA, but they typically don't have that much time to even, they don't have the right context to even build the RCA. So this creates an opportunity. How might CTOs harness the power of AI and automation to optimize IT operations management while accelerating enterprise digital transformation? Because we cannot, slow down or stop it. So we just have to make sure that we have systems to support us. So that's kind of where enters AIOps, which is AI and automation for IT operations management. And the terminology AIOps, I think, kind of came off of Gartner, and this visual is actually from Gartner here. And I just wanted to call out that there's a lot of confusion out there between AIOps and MLOps, and they're two completely different things, and we can kind of sort of blame Gartner for creating that confusion. AIOps is primarily focused on AI for IT operations. There may be machine learning and AI models on the back end that may be powering it, and then their DevOps automation, CI/CD, for those specific machine learning models, that fits within the MLOps, which again can also mean for anything from marketing to sales and support. So when we basically a DevOps for machine learning, that's essentially MLOps. But AIOps is very specifically for enabling AI and automation for IT operations management, right? ITSM. So from an ITSM perspective, this is the framework we know, which is essentially ITSM is around engagement, action on automation, and observe, which is monitoring. So these are the three kind of building blocks, interconnected building blocks, which according to Gartner makes up the ecosystem of what AIOps is. So it's a platform that combines big data and machine learning functionality to support all primary IT operations function through scalable ingestion and analysis of ever-increasing volume, variety, and velocity of data that is generated by IT operations. It enables concurrent use of multiple data sources and data collection methods and analytical and presentation technology. The presentation is generally a lot of the time not talked about, but the UI, UX, the design is extremely crucial, right? So observation, essentially historical analysis, anomaly detection, performance, correlation, and contextualization, which typically are not provided well by many of the observability platforms. Engagement from an ITSM perspective, task automation, change the risk analysis, knowledge management, and action where we are utilizing existing scripts and runbooks, app release automation, and so on and so forth to rapidly mitigate or potentially automatically remediate problems. And then it's powered in the center by data fabric, AI, and automation, and data labeling, which powers AI essentially. The core components to kind of like click further in from this kind of a donut diagram to almost like a functional flow on an core components of the AI platform. So we get like essentially events, infrastructure logs, all kinds of platform and telemetry, all of these events data. It comes into a data module where we have the query layer and a data layer. And the data module is essentially made up of data fabric, data lakes, high density data storage, time series data storage systems, graph systems. It's a combination of various database technologies. That data then gets passed through into an inference module. That's where all of the prediction and intelligence layers are. So all of the AI models and curated multi-layer models for predictions and clustering. And then the insights are then getting passed into an front-end experience layer, where we have the combination of visualization as well as actionability with automation layer. So everything from incident generation, actions recovery, response, and then potentially auto SLA tracking are some of the core functions of the experience layer. So this is essentially these three building blocks for AI ops that kind of comes together. But the middle layer is extremely important. This is typically missing in most of the observability platforms that are basically applying rules directly on the data module, and then they're creating alerts out of those rules and passing directly onto the experience layer. And then that's where the issues around lack of context and prioritization kind of comes into play. Kind of further distilling a little bit on that architecture, one click in. The key features for AIOps essentially is to provide a single pane of glass view across your entire technology stack, right? And it allows for that near real-time or real-time generation of root cause analysis. So that is the core kind of a crux of it, right? So essentially we have ingesting logs in the data, and then this is the kind of a further clicking into the inference module here, which is made up of looking at the events management and then parsing of the data, pattern recognition, anomaly detection, all of the correlation and root cause analysis, and insights enrichment based on context that's happening. So these are the basically the building blocks or crucial elements from an intelligence layer perspective that sits between the triage operations versus your technology infrastructure, right? Further kind of clicking into this, right? So there are plenty of monitoring tools like out there in the market. And this is kind of just high level kind of showing how they are operating mostly on the rules based and some algorithmic approaches, right, to create alerts. Essentially a high level schematic of how multiple like streaming events are converted into more manageable clusters of data that are called situations, right? And the relevant information about the situations in the situation rooms where like social collaboration takes place between members and the support team, right, in order to reach a resolution. So the resulting resolutions are then going back into the knowledge base, and then hopefully that knowledge base is continuously feeding into evolution of the understanding, right, of the ecosystem. Further kind of getting it a little bit more into like high level kind of this is overview, like information entropy to fuzzy matching, text similarity. This is very complex sets of algorithms that are going into this ecosystem. I think I'm gonna potentially skip maybe this slide, but very quickly, streaming events, event ingestion, alert processing, alert clustering. These are the steps to it that going into a messaging bus. So the messaging bus is what connects to your front end team, and with the external tools, and then the situation enrichment data is kind of feeding into it to create this whole situation investigation, essentially. So essentially, the deployment of this hybrid cloud with AIOps with the hosting server component, it is possible to host the server component and then run the software kind of locally also. So for certain like very secure operations where you cannot move the data out of it, the AIOps, like the building blocks of it, should allow you to also run it securely and locally. Is a core element to this. And I think it's kind of further kind of clicking into it, but high level, the goal here is essentially the end goal here, or the vision here for AIOps, I would say, is to have the AI pervade every aspect of managing IT, including application performance management, IT infrastructure monitoring, cloud performance monitoring. Because the thing is, we cannot do these things in silos. That's where the problems are, because on the back end, systems are fully integrated across the entire ecosystem, and then those integrations are causing or can lead to some of the challenges that we're facing, which is where designing an RCA, root cause analysis, can get very challenging because we don't have the clear picture of the integration impact of many of these things working together. The problem may have been started at somewhere that may have cascaded into some other places, but if you're not able to see that complete taxonomy of that particular event moving across your ecosystem, then being able to understand that problem and resolve it becomes essentially an extremely difficult problem to solve, right? Again, this is getting a little bit more technical in this case from a reference architecture perspective. But again, if people want to see, I'll kind of pause on this slide just to kind of let you kind of digest the flow, because it's a lot that's happening on this slide. But the idea here is that to applying AI to operational processes, from incidents to problem management, is to help us achieve operational efficiencies, so that by predicting alerts and reducing, I know we're talking about on this slide for the first time introducing mean time to resolution, MTTR, but there's an aspect of it which is MTTI, which is typically does not talked about, and mean time to identify. Today, observability systems are not able to allow us to optimize for MTTI. And that is going to be on the proactive side of the thing. So if we can optimize for MTTI, we don't have to optimize so much in an ideal world for MTTR. So proactive identification and resolution should reduce the overall burden on the downstream processes. As far as the kind of high level, the key fundamentals that have to be part of an AIOps platform is that it should not be reliant on rules or configurations or any inputs anywhere. The AI and the algorithm should proactively be identifying challenges, issues. They should learn from the behaviors of the system, fully integrated aspects of the systems, and be able to identify and spotlight potential issues, and along with the context and taxonomy of those likely to occur events, so that they can be taken action on. And in an ideal world, potentially even have auto remediation. And certain types of commonly occurring problems can also be fully automated for auto remediation, versus some may require a little bit of a human in the loop, basically, approach to it. So pattern-based alerts, correlation, and prediction. So in this case, we are letting AI understand the patterns, the semantic aspect of these ecosystems, and then provide alerts based on that. So based on historical performance, consumptions, considering factors like day, time, load, related services and devices, correlation on the patterns, looking at the multiplexing of the events and the logs across your ecosystem, not just the silos, and then provide predictions that are based on those patterns and events and alerts. And those predictions and alerts should come with the taxonomy of the events that were observed, and then why, and the explainability for why the algorithm believes that this situation is likely to occur, right? AI-Ops platform should not be dependent on your existing knowledge base for event correlation. It should learn from the kind of events and ways those events are happening in real time. And this kind of gets into setting up priors versus not, versus not. And in an ideal world, we should not have to be, because the problem that occurs with that is it's the common challenge of the known problems and known solutions versus unknown problems, right? And unknown problems are what we are constantly getting alerted by. So if we primarily and just train on the existing knowledge base for event correlation, we will never be able to catch any of the unknown scenarios or unseen scenarios. So it needs to be a combination of it, so that training on the existing knowledge base can allow us to ensure we are never surprised, that we can effectively manage and maintain known problems, and then potentially auto-remediate them. And then the unknown side of it is to ensure that we are never surprised by any unknown and unseen problems. That's essentially the crux of it from a self-learning side of it, which is kind of where AI comes into play. High level, like potential some use cases very quickly here. Real-time anomaly detection by analyzing streaming time series data and using AI. Time series here because all of the events data is essentially time-stamped, right? So that's kind of where it comes in. It's important to call it out. By using AI to detect threats and failures in real time before they occur. Intelligent alerting, where we're using machine learning to sift through very large amount of real-time data and triggering alerts that are based on preset thresholds for known problems, so we can reduce the alert fatigue. Alert fatigue is a massive problem, and then this is where prioritization comes into play. There are too many false positives occurring from alerting systems. And intelligent alerting, its goal is to essentially reduce and minimize false positives and enhance the alert fatigue that comes with that. Auto remediation for common issues on historical data through application of AI and intelligent automation. So if it's a server that's going to have a security certification expired, then those types of issues should be able to be automated, like known problems, known solutions, right? Automated incidents management. So with AI algorithms, we can trigger automatic system responses to remediate incidents. And then observability in this case is a single pane view across your entire ecosystem. And then where the single pane view is also providing it not only prioritized alerts, but it's also providing the right context for the alert so that you can do real-time root cause analysis on them. A couple of other things from an operations perspective that I didn't add here is even like skill-based routing. I know we talk a lot about that. Of course, MTTI, if we can optimize for MTTI from an identification of issue, then it reduces the burden on our network operating centers. But even in that case, we see too often that tickets that are coming in are, number one, I think about 60, in one of our clients' case, about 60 to 70% of the tickets were sent back, the ping pong essentially, from the SREs to rewrite. So there are a lot of AI work that can be done, and I've implemented a similar solution where we take what the customer has identified as a problem and then using GPT and then training it on existing knowledge base or wiki, we can rewrite the ticket for better context. Along with that, the ways to rewrite the ticket to automatically also include potential solutions that have been made in the past, along with the confidence interval, rewrite the ticket with hyperlink back to it with an automation process. And then through a personalization engine, route that ticket with the right level of priority to the right expert. Because sending it to routing it to the right expert with the right context allows us to manage the resolution much more effectively, and then eliminates this inefficiencies that happen because of the ping pong. So that's like a real example of using AI-Ops as an automation, also on the process side of the thing, not just intelligent alerting. So IT operations management, I think the transformation with from a current way versus the AI-Ops powered approach to it. From an approach perspective, we are relying a lot on rules and dependency on human, whereas it's AI-Ops is on algorithms and automated workflows powered by a combination of humans and machines. Configurations and are always essentially, again, a lot of the rules and logics and inputs, whereas the AI-Ops are based on outcomes. We can configuration time today takes a lot of time, and with AI-Ops, it's minimum and can take minutes. Hard matching rules, always, which misses everything that cannot be covered by simple like a binary. Whereas fuzzy matching is algorithmic fuzzy matching. In this case, it's extremely crucial. And with algorithmic fuzzy matching, the emerging domain of causal inferencing and all that can also be applied to it, which we cannot do today at all in the hard matching frameworks. There's typically no machine learning or any kind of a learning involved in current processes, whereas we are tapping into a combination of supervised and unsupervised learning within AI-Ops. Accuracy, and again, this is based on a lot of research we have done. The old way, purely reliant on human expertise and experience, and especially that is even hard because there's a massive churn that is constantly happening within the NOC as well. So the accuracies are very low, whereas with AI-Ops, we can gain prediction of these incidences quite well. And of course, reducing the reliant on number of people that need to be operational, and then of course the cost of ownership, because it's not dependent on number of people. Like today's, a lot of the entities are, their solution to that increasing problems is to throw more bodies at it instead of bringing more AI-based approaches. Within that, I think one thing I wanted to also call out is the root cause analysis, which is a major pain points right now. And a lot of the technologies that are emerging and have come up to the market recently with a massive amount of differentiation, right? So to allow for that real-time root cause analysis at a fraction of a compute cost, like nothing compared. So these types of technologies are evolving. That are designed to consume all of it existing, metrics and logs data. There is no instrumentation needed at all. So the time to value is very short. We can power up real-time anomaly and root cause identification for the SREs. That will continuously also inform our AI models from a self-learning and continuous learning perspective, cost effectiveness across the board. And then as we kind of integrate these systems into our engine within the ITSM process, it will continue to learn. And it allows us to then tap into more advanced deep learning based frameworks towards that intelligent alerting and automation, so that we are not surprised by unknown problems. To kind of sum it up, business outcomes essentially are plenty. Single pane of command for efficiently running your entire IT operations, not silos, application performance on one side, network operations on one side, and so on and so forth. We can look at the entire ecosystem in a single pane of view here. And these are real statistics from a recent implementation that we did. 40% reduction in incidents and a reduced incidents per user per month. So that's a real number. And about 50% reduction in overall IT operations cost. And in this case, in one case, it was a combination of being able to double the number of incidents that the team was able to manage, and while reducing the overall capacity. Proactively managing the IT operations, so up to 24 hours ahead of your time with over 90% accuracy on unknown and unseen problem prediction. And with the intelligent alerting plus better and a more contextualized ticket itself generation, as I mentioned, and with the skill-based routing powered by machine learning, about 60% MTTR reduction, and essentially, and then agile monitoring and elimination of digital dirt driven by auto discovery. And digital dirt essentially is what's causing so much, kind of like problems in the machines, if I may say, digital machines on the back end. At the end, essentially, is to make ops environment faster, smarter, and more productive. So level 0 NOC operators, we can improve efficiency by consolidating alerts together, reduce catch and dispatch type of activities. We can support SMEs and developers by passing past incidents resolution knowledge to lower support tiers. So we don't have to rely and burn out our senior SMEs so much, which happens a lot. Collaboration across complex multidisciplinary incidents, because we are looking at the entire ecosystem, not just silos. For IT operations managers, the benefits are they're delivering service level state monitoring, improving efficiency and job satisfaction. Burnout is very high in this job. And then every time we lose a senior IT operations management, the wisdom of the organization leaves with that person. And that's just not good. Identifying and addressing repeated mundane work with runbooks automation. And for problem managers, investigation and problem solving for frequently repeating P3 to P5 incidences. And for IT senior management, achieving overall per alert efforts reduction, which is a total cost of operation, TCO reduction and optimization, and repurposing the savings towards driving the bottom line for the organization. So I will take a pause here. I know I dumped a lot there, but
I think I have a question for any of you who want to say ask questions, please do so. I just want to get a poll from the audience. Has any of you on the call implemented AI-Ops yet? I think that's the first question, or looking at it at the beginning stages of implementation.
So I'm saying no, no, and no. And I think I would like to ask the question, why not? Because that's the whole purpose of this discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we're interested in, where AI can help us. I don't know that we've nailed kind of what the best case for us is. So when there's discussion like this, I love to be involved to hear what others are doing to see what's going to fit us. Certainly all the things you described are true, right? Like ops could be a spot for that. Just not sure it's exactly the best place to start for us.
I think that's another comment about size and cost and not prepared. And I think, Dennis, you that kind of speaks to the size aspect of it. Where do you start? Because the problem is so big. It's kind of like, where is the first chip? It's like a block of marble. Where's your first chip gonna be?
Yeah.
We heard some really interesting. Like we were at we're implementing Workday right now, and we're at their conference, and they had some really practical things on their roadmap related to AI in terms of like creating job descriptions, trying to think of some of the other ones, but they were like actual things that would give people time back in the business as part of kind of IT implementation. Some of those things are really interesting. What our business stakeholders, like I think when you're talking to our business stakeholders about AIOps, I think they may nod their head and say, sure, okay, but like when we can find those that apply directly to make their lives easier, they're really valuable.
No, I agree, and I think Sabi, you have a couple of points to add to Dennis, which I think they are very, very, very related.
Okay, you put me on a spot. I was like, okay,
I have to.
Oh boy, yeah. We are just starting with some basic challenges which we have, and another piece is creating a culture within the organization, whether they are ready to have that conversation. And especially in education sector, which is right now struggling with students not coming in and with limited budgets and constraints and everything, the focus is just taking care of some basic functionality. So I will give you an example. We wanted to implement chatbot system within the organization. And one of the answers which I received back was like, why are you implementing chatbot when we can save one position? And why can't we ask somebody else to do, the manual work of, responding? So the culture is still not there, especially in the education sector, where it's like old school, old mentality. And it's a lot of work that needs to happen to bring them up to speed and educate them before even, starting this conversation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will probably ask the same question, right? And because most people, the maturity level for most people on this is low or non-existent, right?
Yeah.
So where do we start the education process, right? And also, and that's the focus of this special interest group, right? It is, this is meant, I know Amir when create a picture of the entire thing, right? But people, I want to continue this session as a recurring, so that people can learn, okay, where do I start? And so I have, say, in the case of Sabi, this is my infrastructure. Maybe you can show us what your infrastructure map look like, right? And then potentially suggest on, okay, if I want to start small, where do I start, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, Pradeep. That's the thing, right? What are those small things which we can start with?
The quick wins.
Quick wins, small bites, not taking that much investment. And then how can we at the same time start building up for the future? No, I'm totally 100% on
right.
board.
And then the second thing is education, right? What do the IT staff that you have need to start learning today to prepare for this AI-Ops future, so to speak?
Can we share quickly? I think from a SIG perspective, I think what we would love to do is maybe a workshop where we identify what all of us are facing as challenges, and maybe out of those there might be some commonalities, and identify a lowest hanging fruit with low to no cost of entry, essentially to showcase the value of AIOps in a very tangible and measurable way.
Interesting data showing in there. And if I see more and more folks are working towards or looking towards like self-service or having the customer solving their tickets on their own. So this number of all these tickets which you were showing at the end, were those solved by AI ops, were self-serve, or were resolved by somebody on the service desk? Is there some data behind it or some numbers behind it?
There is a lot of data behind it for sure. And I think I'm just thinking out loud because the data I just shared with you right there was for a network operating center, right? Where we had a fixed budget that basically our client has frozen the budget for the next 5 years, saying, we cannot give you any more budget to add more people. You have to just optimize. So we were in a way kind of forced to do that. As far as the self-serve component is concerned, in this case, there was an element to that as well. And for that, we built in, it took us about 3 months. So, talking about cost here, with the type of like AI frameworks that are available to us now, the cost of building and training AI models is not that high, to be honest, at this point in time. So it took us about 3 months, Abhi, to take the incoming tickets that could have been self-served. So we used basically algorithms to identify what class of tickets, what types of tickets should have been self-served, could be self-served. And then when the customers were raising this problem using a GPT model, that we will take that information, bounce it against the entire knowledge base, the wiki, and then redesign the ticket, and then provide the self-serve, self-driven incidents kind of a response back to them, to the clients, to those engines. So that was, yes. But the classification had to be done first because you cannot send a complex ticket back to the customer. But no, I agree. And then I'm not going to name the client in this case because of confidentiality, but they were that was part of the process, yes.
I have a question for people, particularly those that said, what can we do first? And what's free is how many people have told your staff to spend a half hour each day making sure that they're using the free AI tools that they're already there so they understand the AI tools when you go to purchase them. And that's the biggest thing we can do now is making sure our staff is using it for menial tasks or even difficult tasks, either way, so they understand how it's going to help them and make things better and faster in the future.
Yeah, it's the education component, right? So there are a lot of people who even here at Kaiser, they see this AI thing coming, they duck, their heads are buried in the sand, right? I don't want to know about it. I am perfectly happy doing what I'm doing, right? So, and that's a tough fight to fight, until they lose their job, right?
Yeah. So, and Pradeep, the media is there to blame too, well, right? It's painting a very negative picture about some of although there are, like in any technology, there are risks there, but there are opportunities as well. So media is always gonna grab that negative and is like, okay, everything is gonna fall and your job is gonna go away, or it's gonna take over the world.
I think the comment that Andrew Ng recently made, I think you guys probably know Andrew Ng, very well-known AI researcher and founder of Coursera. He recently made a comment that jobs, you will not be replaced by AI, you will be replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI.
Exactly.
And then that's
I think that's very well said, Ahmer. I think that's exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, I think I'm kind of seeing a lot of IT leaders here, right? I think one of the things I learned through my journey being in the leadership role in big companies, I think the leaders has to believe in this transition or transformation and do all the homework that is necessary. You need to take the first step, and then invest a little bit of budget.
Yeah.
You don't have to really ask for it from your upper management or whatever that cycle of budget. You have given budget, so you need to really kind of give a little bit of budget for that and then experiment it. I think it's very important to do that, and then show the value back with that investment is the best way to convince your leadership chain.
I think for the next meeting, Pradeep, might be interesting to maybe do a workshop on types of potentially low-hanging fruits that can be solved with low to no cost of entry, just to show the ROI, because that ROI will help a lot of folks be able to have a better and informed dialogue with the leadership around freeing up with budget. I mean, it's cost saving. It's a no-brainer, but sometimes you have to do it.
So I think we are at the top of the hour. So thank you all for joining. And Ahmer and I will get together to figure out, we don't want this to be a long, preferably half an hour type segments, right? Going forward, the first one is long because we need to do introduction, but the future ones will be shorter attention span, that kind of stuff, so that we can build on it gradually, right? And then we will like other people to introduce their own experiments that they are doing in the organizations. And with that, thank you all for joining, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah.